Hey there, Titans, and welcome back to another Titan Academy video. Today we'll be talking about pushing hierarchy of objects to Salesforce. First, I'll show you how you can set up what we call a nested push to push several related objects together to Salesforce. And after that, I'll show you how you can do this without using a nested push and still be able to create that relationship between your objects. So let's get started. I've already set up a form here where first I request some company information and then some contact details and then upload a file. So in essence, what we'll be doing is creating an account, a contact that's related to that account, and then a file that's related to that contact. So let's first set up our pushes. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to head over to the onFinish action for this stepper, and we'll do a Salesforce integration, and I'm going to create a push. And my first push will be for account. And I'm going to map account name to company name and industry to industry. And that should be enough for my account. Now under the account, in order to create a child, I can click on these three dots, add child, and that's going to create what we call a nested integration or a nested push where I can use another object such as contact and it will automatically be related to the account. Now let's see what I mean by that. If I head over to my mapping, you'll see that the account ID or the lookup field on my contact is already associated with the first push, the push to the account, its account ID. So we'll have that related once that's set up, and we'll just add here first name, last name, and email, and we'll apply. And the final child that we want to do is a file. And again, notice that if we head over to first published location, we already have this association. Now keep in mind, this association will only work if the pushes are nested. If the pushes are not nested, then it will not be able to relate the contact ID from its parent. We would need to do it in a different way using variables, which we'll do later on in this video. Let's go ahead and map the rest of our fields. We just need to do version all and version data. And we'll use our file. And we're not going to give it a name. We could also technically give it a name and title, but we'll skip that for now. All right, so we've got our nested push. Let's just take a look and see how this works. Notice that the push here that we select is just the account because the rest are nested under it. So once we push the account, the rest of them will be pushed as well. All right, give it a little bit of a tag here, and let's apply, and let's try to run this. All right, so we'll say Titan. And we forgot to actually give this a dynamic value, so let's do that quickly. All right. So again, we'll put it in Titan here. And we'll say, let's say banking for now. We'll put in Tom Redding, some email. And we'll upload some kind of file, and we'll push all that to Salesforce. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, as we can see, an account was created, a contact was created, and a file was created. Let's over to the contact, because I think we'll be able to see everything from there. And as we can see that this contact is related to an account called Titan, and if we look in the related files, we could see that file was also related. So that's how you can nest your objects so that they create and relate to one another. Now let's see a different way that you can do this. Let's say, for example, I didn't actually want to push them all at once, or maybe I'd like to just do this in a different way. If I want to do a bulk push, then I also would want to do it in this way. So I'm going to actually disassociate these from one another. Okay, and I'm going to head over to the account ID and I'm going to get rid of this. All right, now what I am going to do is I'm going to create a couple of variables to store my account ID and my contact ID. It's better to do this nested if you can, but if you need to do it in the way that I'm going to show you now, that's also all right. So I'm going to go ahead and head over to Pages and create a couple of variables to hold my IDs. One will be my account ID so that I could associate this with my account. And the next one is going to be my contact ID so that I could associate this with my contact. Let's just fix this. All right. Now, if I head back to my Salesforce integration, I'm going to head over to the account lookup field and actually use this as my account ID. And that's the ID that will actually populate my lookup here. And the same thing for file, for first published location. Again, this will not work because we're not actually nesting this, so I need to use a ID that I can find in a variable. All right, and now let's head over to our push here, and we're going to have to separate out our pushes. So in this example, I'm just going to do it after finish, but first I need to make sure that I return the account ID to this variable in order so that I can associate the contact with this account ID later. So let's actually do it like this, where after finish, we maybe show, let's do a confirmation message and say, do you want to create a contact as well? This is just a random example of maybe we want to give the end user an option to create the rest of their objects, and that's why we separated it. So let's say on confirm, then we'll use contact create, and we'll return that contact ID. And we'll also, just to demonstrate something a little bit further, we'll also do in the same push here, we're doing files, but note what we're going to do here. If we do not do a custom order of execution here, then the file can get created before the contact theoretically, and theoretically we could have a situation where we don't actually have this association. So we need to make sure that we wait for the contact to get created. So we'll say first contact, then files, and now this should work out great because we're returning the contact ID, and the file will be able to use that ID to associate it in Salesforce. So let's do it like this, and we'll apply. And now we can see that it works this way as well. And you know what? Let's just turn on debug mode just so that we can see those IDs, just to make sure everything's working well. Try again. Company, let's say, and we'll do a contact as, all right, just some random contact here. And of course, you can also use the method that we're using here to push at each step along the way instead of only pushing at the end. That's another very common option that you might want to push after you've created the account. You push an account and then you push a contact in the next step, and you can follow the same logic that we did here to accomplish that as well. So let's click finish here. And as we can see, do you want to create a contact as well? Let's confirm. And we should see here that we got back our account ID and we got back our contact ID. And so all of these should be nicely associated with each other in Salesforce. Let's just make sure that's the case. Let's head over to Salesforce. Very nice. We can see that it is associated with that account, and we can see that we've associated that file that we just created in Salesforce. So those are a couple of different ways that you can play with hierarchy and associating objects with one another, records with one another between different objects, and that's how it's done.